15th day of Tingemas. 15 days of Tingemas. 14 examiners, 13 grade 9, 12 pens writing, 11 English classes, 10 red pens, 9 key concepts, 8 literary devices, 7 teachers teaching, 6 rhyming couplets, 5 war poems, 4 highlighters, 3 post-it notes, 2 mock exams, and a poetry anthology. Merry Tingemas, everyone. Hello and welcome back to Tingemas. Now, sadly, this is in fact the last day of Tingemas that you'll see unless you go back through the other 15. Now, today we're going to be going through Kamikaze. Now let's begin by reading through the poem. Her father embarked at sunrise, with a flask of water, a samurai sword in the cockpit, a shaven head, full of powerful incantations and enough fuel for a one-way journey into history. But halfway there, she thought, recounting it later to her children, he must have looked far down at the little fish boats strung out like bunting on a green-blue translucent sea, and beneath them, arcing its swathes like huge flags waved first one way then the other in a figure of 8, the dark shoals of fishes fishing silver on the bellies, swivelling towards the sun, and remembered how he and his brothers waited on the shore, built cairns out of pearl grey pebbles to see whose withstood longest the turbulent inrush of breakers bringing their father's boat safe. Yes, the grandfather's boat, safe to the shore, salt-sodden, awash with cloud-marked mackerel, black crabs, feathery prawns, the loose silver of whitebait, and once a tuna, the dark prince, muscular, dangerous, and though he came back, my mother never spoke again in his presence, nor did she meet his eyes, and the neighbours too. They treated him as though he no longer existed. Only we children still chattered and laughed, till gradually we too learned to be silent, to live as though he had never returned, that this was no longer the father we loved, and sometimes, she said, he must have wondered which had been the better way to die. Firstly, sunrise is key imagery, as Japan is known as the land of the rising sun, and it also links to culture and the character's key duty. Listing here creates a sense of intimacy with the pilot and juxtaposes the metaphorical journey into history of his flight. She thought, recounting it later to her children, gives individualism to the nameless pilot. Strung out like bunting is a simile that emphasises the attractive temptation of life below him, and contrasts his journey into history alongside symbolising his inner turmoil. This figure of 8 is symbolic of an infinity symbol, showing the feeling of being trapped is a repetitive cycle. Cairns are symbolic of death and remembrance, and the turbulent inrush of breakers represents his inner turmoil and conflict, and how the pilot was pressured into doing his duty. Sibilance in shore and salt-sodden shows the ocean sounds and is symbolic to the tide which, like the pilot, returned. The listing of what can be found on the fishing boat shows the childhood innocence of which is soon darkened by the events leading up to the pilot's current situation. The pronoun he leaves the pilot nameless, as if the mother is ashamed and it is difficult for her to name him. The word learned in we naturally learned implies the behaviour was not natural, and they were forced with a matter-of-fact tone to stop listening and talking to the pilot. The punctuation after loved creates empathy when emphasising love, and also shows that the love stopped after they were told to stop and move on from the pilot. Now let's take a look at the theme of Kamikaze. The poem is set in a time and topic of conflict. However, the real conflict is between the rules of a society's honour in Japanese culture and the will to survive and return to a family. The conflict is particularly profound because there appears to be no right answer, and the pilot dies one way or another, in the eyes of his family or in the wreckage of his plane, if not in body. The poem also explores the futility of trying to avoid your own fate and destiny. Well, that's it for this video, and in fact another series. Merry Tingemas, and I'll be seeing you in the new year with my new series where I believe I'll be doing something else. See you then.